Extreme cold continues across Alberta after a weekend of temperatures in the -40s with the frigid wind chills. Albertans are being asked to reduce their energy use as the cold ravages the power grid, threatening blackouts. Snow blanketed much of Western Canada over the weekend, bringing with it the first cold snap of the season. But for communities in Alberta and the prairies, temperatures have reached a dangerous low. Environment Canada is warning of a polar vortex in Edmonton and Calgary, bringing temperatures around -40 degrees Celsius with wind chills in the -50s, making Alberta the coldest place in Canada, even colder than the Arctic. The weather has caused many schools to cancel classes and transit to be delayed. Experts asking people to remain inside. Otherwise, skin can freeze in a matter of minutes.
It's been about an hour now since I've got on the train. The driver keeps saying the ETA is he doesn't tell us ETA yet.
And the cold is wreaking havoc on more than just the population. The temps and high energy usage needed to heat homes, threatening the power grid to go down, the possibility of rotating blackouts.
Yes, we are experiencing very, very high power demand in the province because of the extremely cold temperatures.
The Alberta Electric System Operator issued 4 warnings in as many days. The latest this morning, that was canceled an hour later. Officials asked Albertans to lower their power usage. This message popping up on cell phones Saturday, asking people to turn off unnecessary lights, minimize the use of space heaters, and cook with microwaves instead of stoves.
Last night, we set an all-time record for power consumption of 12,384 megawatts. That surpassed the previous all-time record, which was set back in December of 2022, again, when there was extreme colds.
Premier Danielle Smith writing on X today that she's filled with gratitude for the incredible response from every Albertan. She says after the emergency message went out, there was a 200 megawatt reduction in demand, averting the need for rotating power outages. Albertans are asked to continue to watch their power usage this week, especially during peak hours of 4 to 7 p.m. Alberta's Minister of Affordability and Utilities says this week's close calls are an example of why Alberta can't rely on renewable energy sources.
We do have a very good system, and we are very thankful and lucky to have as much natural gas generation power as we do to get us through these times when weather incidents don't allow other types of generators to generate to their full capacity. And that's why we stand up for Albertans and make sure that Ottawa and the federal government there realizes the natural realities of living in a northern climate.
But the AESO says today's grid alert was ended because of increasing wind and solar generation that relieved the system. Climate experts say the extreme temperatures are expected to stick around all week, with some relief by the weekend. For more on the polar vortex across Alberta, we're joined now by David Phillips, senior climatologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada. Thanks for joining us, David. What are we seeing in Alberta right now?
Well, thank you, Emily. And what a difference a few weeks have made. In December, we were talking about 7 degrees warmer than normal across the province of Alberta and parts of the prairies. And now we look in January, the halfway point, and it's about 7 degrees colder than normal, a real change around. And it just tells you where the weather's coming from. In December, it was coming from the Pacific, from the south. And this one has now, for the last week or so, temperatures have clearly come from the north, the Arctic, Siberia, Alaska. Call it what you may. It is cold, and just heavy air. It sinks to the ground. It fills all the nooks and crannies, and it's just bone-chilling, punishingly, dangerously cold. We've seen new temperature records in Edmonton for 3 days in a row. And you know, Emily, I haven't even talked about the wind chill. I could embellish this whole thing by saying the fact that we've had wind chills of -58 in Edmonton and -40 in Calgary. I mean, it's just been absolutely cold for the last 10 days. And we see some kind of end to it a little bit, but it's always slow to leave. It arrives quickly, and then it just is, because it's heavy and dense air, and it hugs the ground, and you just can't kick it out. And so it eventually does weaken. moves off, and then the milder air comes in. But boy, this has been one of the toughest parts of, well, maybe the coldest, hopefully the coldest moment of the winter. We'll have to wait and see, but certainly has been a dramatic difference.
Where is this cold blast of air coming from?
But this is really comes from the polar vortex comes from the stratosphere. This is up where jet aircraft fly. And that air it's like spinning top up there, and it's cold, 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 but it doesn't come down to the surface. And then at some moments, that cold air is kind of jiggled and jaggled and bumped, and it's like poking a sleeping bear. And then all of a sudden it gets restless, comes down to the surface, spreads down to the west, and just nothing can stop it. There's no mountain systems that cross in a latitudinal way to stop the cold air. I mean, this cold air can maybe stop from going over to Vancouver, Victoria because of the Rockies, but it just leaves Tuktoyaktuk, comes down to Calgary, and goes on to Texas. And so it just really freezes millions of people in temperatures they're just not used to.
So how dangerous are these temperatures?
Oh, it doesn't matter your state of mind or your health condition, what you do. This is dangerous. You don't want to be outside in these kinds of conditions because exposed flesh can freeze in not just a half hour, but within a minute or two. And always, my advice always is to look in on people. Do the kind of civic-minded thing. There's some people who get disoriented in this kind of weather. And think of the people without shelters, and they're being obviously in danger under these situations. So we need to reach out to those people too.
When can Western Canada expect any warmer weather?
It's short-lived. We see an end in sight. My gosh, in Calgary, I see temperatures today that could be, or this week, could be -18, -21 for a high. But I look to the weekend, I see temperatures that could be above freezing. Wow, that would be great news. Some Pacific air coming in and kicking this cold Arctic air away. And we see some moderation to the polar vortex. Takes time, Emily. It's not something that's done overnight, but it gradually weakens and kind of gets pushed back where it belongs, up into the high Arctic.
That's David Phillips, senior climatologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada. David, thanks for joining us.
Great, thank you.